Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing super fantastic. And I've been kind of outlining a video that's it's going to be a little dark. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I had recently watched the David Icke interview on the Redacted channel, and if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend it. And in it, he goes pretty heavily into Loosh and its purpose and how it is generated and how the elites of the world are kind of hip to the game and know that the gods that they serve, which are also known as the Archons, those negative entities that Ike says are they exist in the astral, but and I believe that to be true. But I also know that the astral is right here. Like everything exists right there in one place. There is really no separation. The only separation is in degree of vibration or frequency, meaning the astral plane vibrates on a much higher level. I mean, the physical is such a just a low and just sludgy, for lack of a better term, a very sludgy vibration, and that's why physical seems physical. And I use the word seems because it only seems physically real to us in this realm because we are currently in it, as we've established many times before, that anytime you're in another state or whatever, that one is going to seem just as real there as this one does here. But things do happen faster and in different ways on those other realms. I mean, I gotta believe. But the with regards to Ike's interview on Redacted, he was talking about Loosh. And Loosh, again, is that term that was coined by Bob Monroe in his book Far Journeys, Bob Monroe of the Monroe Institute. But oddly enough, if you contact anyone associated with Monroe's organization, be it the Monroe Institute or whatever, nobody there wants to talk about Loosh. They say if you call, I heard this on a separate podcast, but they say if you were to talk to someone there and try to bring up Loosh or ask them a question about it or whatever, they don't talk about that. They don't really want to talk about that, which tells me, dear loved one, is probably a little bit too close to the truth. I mean, really, I gotta believe that someone realized that Bob Monroe had published that in his book Far Journeys about Loosh and is like, oh crap, that's getting a little too close to the truth. And probably was like, well, I mean, I guess it's already out there in the book, but they maybe contacted Bob Monroe or the Monroe Institute and told them, hey, yeah, that's already out there, but we want to leave it at that. We don't want to elaborate on it. We don't want to explore that. We don't want to investigate. We don't need anybody going into it any more than has already been established. And then there's also those who will tell me, who will point out, also in that book, Monroe mentioned Loosh could also be generated from positive energy, positive vibrations, from people being happy and things like that. And that is true. That's true. However, it was also pointed out that a much more favorable to these negative entities is when it's that low vibrational energy that is produced from states of fear and anxiety and worry and guilt and all of that, terror, for that matter. Now, getting back to David Icke on the Redacted, he mentions when they do, because for centuries, even for millennia, the elites of the world have been hip to the game. They've been in the know of, they've been in service to these archons, to these negative entities, and they use their influence and power and all of that to keep the masses in those perpetual states of low vibration so that they continue to produce that low vibrational energy. And back in the old days when I guess ritual sacrifice was more accepted. I mean, I guess, but when it was more accepted, and they would sacrifice a virgin. David Icke pointed out, and I'm like, wow, that's a very good point. That the word virgin was just code for a child, and that the terror produced by a victim, if it is a younger person, is I guess it's more favorable. It's a better energy for them. And that makes a lot of sense. It's like, when they say they're going to sacrifice a virgin, that's really just code for child. And that it's believed that when the human body begins puberty, it goes through changes. Obviously, we know that part, but it begins producing a different form of energy, which it's more favorable before that happens. So there you go. But the elites of the world have been in the know of this for, as I've said, millennia. And with the news items that are going on these days with the whole Epstein thing, some people wonder why, what is the fascination with all of this very sick and twisted stuff. Like there's that one young lady in Mexico, there was a model that came running out of a hotel talking about they were eating humans and things like that. And the thing about that is that is all in service to these very negative entities. Now, dear loved one, I said I was going to get a little dark, but I'm also trying to encourage you, because it's like, how's that encouraging, man? Well, it is. At least I'm making an attempt to, dear loved one. And since we're on the subject, because we're not, if you would please go ahead and hit the like button, I would really appreciate that. And also, subscribe to this channel if you have not yet done that. And and share this video, because I do think it's important for people to understand that the news media, the social media, that all of these, this everywhere bombarded with negativity. It's by design. It's not by accident. It's no accident that the world is in a perpetual state of war somewhere, that there are always people suffering in the world. That's not by accident. And that is perpetuated by these elites. Now, the good news is, as I've said before, I do believe that there are reset protocols built into the system, built into the SIM, if you want to go there, built into the system to reset, to reboot the whole thing periodically. And the reason for that is so that things don't get too out of control, that things don't go too far over to one side or the other. Although the pendulum does swing, if it gets this bad to this way, then that means it must be equally good to the other way. And we know this because as bad as things are getting in the world, they are, and they seem to be getting bad, faster. We also know that their spiritual awakening is also ramping up. Both sides are ramping up, and time is definitely speeding up. It doesn't just seem like time is speeding up. It is. Of course, when we observe a clock and we're like, well, it's still just 24 hours in a day, and there's still 60 minutes in an hour, there's still 60 seconds in a minute. So it really just seems like time is speeding up. But how we observe time is actually speeding up. And we know this because, especially if you're a little older, such as myself, I'll say it, I'm 51. When I was a kid, as I have said before, summers seem to last forever. And, and then there's the old saying, well, time flies when you're having fun. Please believe me, dear loved one, when I was a kid in the summer, I was having fun. Okay? I was having fun. But time did seem to fly. But now that I'm not a kid and I'm not having fun all summer, of course, I still have fun, but, it's different. It's going faster now than it ever has. And it's just one of those things. It's an observational thing. And most people agree. I got to believe you probably do, dear loved one. You probably think, yeah, it is. Couldn't put my finger on it because it's true. There are still 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour and such and so on. But things are ramping up. So these elites, they do serve these archons, and they are in the know. They do understand the pecking order. They understand that if they stay in good favor with these negative entities, that they are going to continue to have their lavish lifestyles. But the drawback for them is they can never leave. They're going to be here cycle after cycle after cycle, lifetime after lifetime. And it's like, well, I guess it's okay as long as they continue to live this lavish lifestyle. It's like, well, no. Even if you but there's a trade-off, is that you still have to participate in all this ritualistic abuse and things like that. And it's, I mean, the good news is, dear loved one, we are awakening and we're going to get out of here. And that's going to be a beautiful thing. And they are not. And I would not trade with them. No. And I got to believe you're probably with me on that. It's like, are you going to trade with them so that, even if you get to live this luxurious, lavish lifestyle? No, because for one, they literally have to sell their souls to do it. And two, they have to continue to participate in sick things. I mean, they just do. And it's like, nah, I'll take what I got here. I'm doing pretty good. And as I've said, things do seem to be coming to a head. Something's about to happen. If we look at the state of the world, we know that the trajectory that it's on and the pace and the momentum that it's gaining, it can't stay like this forever. It can't continue on the trajectory, gaining momentum as it is now. Something has to happen. And I think that's the genius of the reset protocols, those resets that are in place from time to time. And there is evidence throughout history, throughout archaeology, there is evidence of these reset events from time to time in the Earth server, the Earth sim, if you want to go there. In this realm, there is evidence that this does happen from time to time. And I got to believe that those of us who have finally awakened, who have finally discovered the things that we have come here to discover, to have the awakening, to have the epiphany, to gain the knowledge, the wisdom that we've come to gain, it's like, well, it's finally time to go. So the next reset event, we get to jack out of here and move on to something else. What could we possibly be moving on to next? How could we know? But it's an exciting prospect. There is that. And then I guess we can look back on this and think, well, all those elites that thought they had it all figured out, now they're still there. And in fact, they're having to start over from scratch and do it all again. So see, we've got it pretty good, dear loved one. As dark as things may be, we got it pretty good. And also, by having it good, we need to continue to be inspirations to others. There are others who are awakening. Their awakening is happening, meaning people are awakening at a much accelerated rate. Plus, the numbers of people who are awakening is also ramping up. And I got to believe that is I don't want to say it's the 100th monkey effect, but it is a direct effect of you having your awakening. So you are having a very positive influence. You are definitely causing others to come along. So, yeah, I just wanted to encourage you on that, dear loved one. So there's that. And yeah, I guess that's all I got for you. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. If you haven't yet hit the like button, please do so. Please share this video with somebody if you haven't yet done that too. That's all I got for you for now, dear loved one. I love you, and I'll be back directly.